part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey. What's up? It is January the 13th as we're recording this. This is the Ball Cart Show, the esports podcast.
For the Esports Collector.
I'm Jason Otero.
I'm Gary Lamaster.
And as always, we are brought to you by
the Press Play Podcast Network.
We're glad that you're listening in. We have things to talk about.
Always.
I did not drink that weird hippie juice this week. I feel much more normal.
All I know is as you're drinking it, you got to the bottom and there was just this sludge build up at the bottom of the glass.
That's where the magic happens.
So I mentioned to Jason right before he hit record and the theme music started that I was going to share a getting old story that happened this week.
Nothing is better than telling me that you're going to tell a story and then telling the entire listening audience that you're about to tell a story before you tell it.
Right.
But if you set it up a little bit longer, it'll get better.
No, it won't. It's actually horrifying. So I'm getting old, and Jason and I have had this conversation before. Listen, if you're not an overshare person, skip the next 2 minutes.
Or just probably don't listen to this episode or any.
But if you're not an overshare person. So
I don't know what Gary's about to say, and now I'm nervous, but I just want to be on the record saying I may not condone what's about to come out of his mouth.
Fair. 100% fair. So I've been experiencing for a little while, I don't know the medical term for it.
Oh, no.
But we'll call it leakage, right?
Oh, bro.
So yesterday, I finally broke down. I told my wife, I said, babe, you got to remind me tomorrow I need to stop at the store. And I'm going to have to break down and buy some Preparation H. And it hit me in the face when I said the words, how old that makes me feel. Mm. But then even worse, as I'm driving to the studio today to record this podcast, my wife calls me with no embarrassment whatsoever in her voice as she's standing in the middle of the aisle at Walmart talking at a normal human volume.
Oh, boy.
Asking me what type of Preparation H I would like. Would I like the cream? Would I like the wipes? Would I like the spray? Would I like a combination of these? It was the most horrifying conversation that I've ever had.
I'm going to pause this, and I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to visualize each version of that product. And also, everyone listening that hasn't met you is thanking God that they can't place a face or an overweight ogre wearing a SpongeBob shirt taking care of his derriere.
Oh, man.
With Preparation H. So this episode is brought to you by
Preparation H.
Did you go with the cooling gel?
I actually, and here's what's crazy. She was like, they come in single white packets. Do you want some of those so you can take them to work with you? Or do you just want the thing? And I was like, I just want the large thing. I'm not taking them to work with me.
Have you ever thought about just grabbing the Depends and calling it a day?
No.
You come across as somebody that can't wait for that to be legit. You know what?
Well, I'm not going to lie. Going to the bathroom is an inconvenience.
We should stop this.
It's an inconvenience.
All right.
If there was a way to make that happen and not be a mess.
I am moving on. So 2 weeks in a row, 5 minutes been burned up with just really stupid conversation.
Well, I wonder if it's related to all my country boy breakfasts.
I already told you what it is.
Olestra?
There's a certain chemical that's in Fritos.
I don't need a lot of Fritos.
Well, you might have
I
that
eat a lot of gummy bears.
That's it,
a lot of Sour Patch Kids.
Bro, you are a dumpster. And your ability to
you're a recycling bin? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
This isn't about me.
Oh, okay.
I have my own issues. I destroyed my own bed in the night.
You once lost a remote control.
Well, now we're getting personal. I destroyed our bed. We bought a cheap bed when we were finishing out the whole house because the bedroom wasn't that important to us. We spent a ton of money putting furniture in.
Oh, I forgot about this story.
Yeah.
Yes, this is good.
Then the other night, my wife's like, my charger came unplugged. I'm like, okay.
Thanks for telling me that.
Well, it's because the bed's shifted over 6 inches. I'm like, oh, that's weird. She gets up,
You had a polyhedral bed.
The bed collapses like in the movie Black Sheep, and I'm on it. The bed messed with the outlet so bad that lights were flickering. I thought there was a bolt of lightning. I also thought my wife was in bed with me suffering. No, she was out watching the whole thing. So that's what we did last night, is put a new bed together. We looked up on the reviews to make sure that it was a sturdy frame. And we're good to go now.
When we bought our last mattress, I did the same thing. I was like, I need a fat guy mattress.
Yeah. So we're fat, and this is about cards. I want to talk about my first card show.
Yeah, you did set up for real last week.
Set up for real. We went to the Xenia Card Show. Thank you to all of you that came out for a picture conversation, brought us coffee. It was great. Also, we were in Xenia. I don't know if maybe we said the wrong address, or maybe you got lost finding your way there, but we were in Xenia, Ohio. But it was a lot of fun. Pretty big show for a local one. How many tables were up?
180 or so?
Okay. Yeah. I followed Gary's philosophy here. Just some juiced up $1 and $2 boxes, priced as mark. I moved a little bit of everything. First time out. Inventory's lower than I want it to be, but I think I made like $500 in a few hours.
Yeah.
Mostly that smaller and up to, I don't think I sold anything over $100 per card.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
So mostly just about $1, $2, but it was a lot of fun. There were some cool moments there. One of my favorites was a travel basketball team. These kids are probably second or third grade.
Right.
Their coach took them to the card show afterwards, after their game. And I was like, what are you guys doing here? Well, we went and played a game. We got our butts kicked, but coach brought us over here to cheer us up. That's what he said. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
though.
it was a lot of fun. It was cool seeing how many kids are in the hobby.
Tons. That's one of my favorite things about shows is the kids that come to the tables.
There were some older guys. So I had a 61 or 62 Hank Aaron for sale, and he took a look at it, and I could tell he knew what he was looking at. So just asking him like, hey, here's what I think this would grade for. What do you think? And how do you decide that? And what are the good things with it? So he and it was good. He said I had priced it appropriately, which vintage is something that I don't know a lot about.
Well.
Yeah, it's intimidating. So it was a really cool experience. I'm actually going to go back next month. Xenia, that's with an X. Maybe that's it. Maybe they looked it up with a Z, and all the fans were looking for Xenia, Ohio, but maybe not.
No, I don't think that was the
case. But we'll be at the South High Street show next week.
On the 21st?
21st.
South High American Legion.
Back down to Xenia
Columbus,
next
Ohio.
month. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. Do you have anything to add? Card show?
Not really. It's such a fun experience to talk about cards with other collectors. Like going to the show and setting up, if you're only going there is to make money, you'll probably make some money, but you're not going to enjoy yourself.
Right.
To me, making the money is cool, but what is really enjoyable is the conversations that I get to have with people that come to the table. And I get to talk. It's one of the few places I get to talk baseball with baseball fans who know what they're talking about. And you just get to experience a lot of different parts of the hobby and talk to people in different spots. So you get people that are only there to look through your dollar boxes. You have people that are looking for $10,000 cards and everything in between. You develop a lot of relationships. I think Jason was a little bit surprised at how many people were coming to my table that are regulars. They're just people that whenever I'm at a show, they make sure they come to my table. And that's always fun.
Yep. It was pretty cool. A couple of highlights for me. So that team was there. My next favorite was this older guy that had a Kroger bag with him. And we each get one chair for our table as vendors.
Yes.
He asked for my chair. He sat up at the $1 box, spread his coat across the other boxes.
Posted up for like half an hour.
Half an hour looking up $1 and $2 patches. I don't know what he was looking for exactly online. He also decided to do voice to text on a family group text that had just had a grandbaby. So I got to listen to that for about 30 minutes while people were like, oh, there's no room at this table.
And how much did he spend at your table?
$2.
Yeah, then he came over to my table right next door and posted up again.
With my chair.
Yes. Posted up again. Took about 25 minutes to go through my boxes. Made a stack of about 30 cards. And I'm thinking, okay. And then he proceeded to take another 10 minutes and look closely at each of the $1 and $2 cards and put each one of them back in the boxes and then leave and not buy anything.
Yeah. The man knows what he wants.
So that was fun.
The man knows what he wants.
I think his budget for the show was $10, which, whatever. That's cool. I just don't like you posting up and keeping other customers from being able to look through stuff if
at
you're
least
not
be
going to
friendly.
buy anything.
At least be friendly. Also, third person, this person I wasn't crazy about. There were a lot of them. How much for the whole box of dollar box stuff? I look over at Gary. How many cards do I have in there? Probably like 250-ish. 200? Because I know that every one of those $1 cards are worth $3 to $5.
For sure.
He was like, yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, have a nice
Bye.
day, sir.
And then you had one come up to you at the end.
Oh, yeah. So one of the things that I don't think people who are dealers that are setting up at these shows and traveling all over the place have come to terms with yet. And this guy, really nice guy, also kind of condescending. He had his booth set up, really nice table
Banners,
covers,
bro.
Banners,
Cases,
slab
you know.
life. Like, and he's selling higher end stuff. And I don't think he moved very much stuff at the show.
Mm-hmm.
He came over to my table as I was getting ready to tear down at the end of the show. Jason had already been gone for probably a half hour. And
I had a Hardee's to get to.
You did. You had plans too that afternoon, but he came over to the table and he starts looking through my $1 and $2 boxes. And when other dealers come to my table and look through my $1 and $2 boxes, they don't look very long before they go, well, what do you want for the whole box?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, the $1 box, it looks like there's probably about 700 cards left in there. So I think probably 600 is the best I could do on it. The $2 box looks like there's about the same 700 cards left in there. I think I'd probably be at about 1,200 there at best. And the price is marked, I think $2,300 is the best I could do. At which point he already knows that that's a solid price, but he proceeds to try to explain to me what kind of time he's going to have involved. And I stopped him about 30 seconds into the spiel and I said, sir, we do the same thing. I'm not some Joe Schmo who just brought his collection over to the card show on a whim. I do this every week. We play the same game. You already know
But
that the price that I just gave you,
on his table.
the price I just gave you is a really good price. It lets you make some money. It lets me make some money. If you think you're getting all the stuff on my table for 15% of comps, you're out of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Have a nice day.
But this brings up a good point.
Sure.
So where breaking became a huge thing, there were a lot of guys that had been collecting for a little while that had a little know-how, that also had a plug at Target or Walmart, that for a couple of years made money and an audience breaking retail.
You met Dayton's main retail plug.
Yeah,
on
I did.
Saturday.
I
Yeah.
sure did. Yep, all of Dayton.
All of the retail that exists in
Yeah.
Dayton never hits the shelves. This guy has it.
It's on that guy's table. But
Yep.
a lot of these guys built an audience, bought a banner, and put a case up, and it's like, no, this is an established business. Meanwhile, you go past the tables where you can literally see, oh, this is an LCS owner. This is somebody that has done this for a very long time.
Yeah.
And there's gives and takes on both. You know,
Sure.
the new guy might be a little more aware of the volatility and understand that something's overpriced right now because of what's just happened and work with you. The older guy might say, I don't care. If I'm not getting $15 on this common, nobody's getting it.
Right.
It's a little bit more rare. I don't care what the internet says.
Right.
So you do have a trade-off on that, but I don't know. I find myself feeling somewhere in between those two crowds. Just with my age, what I like, because I'm not really a sneaker flipper type of
I
guy.
think it depends on what your goal is.
Yeah.
I tell people who come to my table and go, oh, you have really good prices on some of this stuff. This is really nice stuff in these boxes. I'm here to sell, not show and tell. Like there are guys who set up at shows, I think really, truly, for people to come to the table and go, oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And they know if they sell some of that stuff, people won't come to their table and go, oh, wow, anymore because they won't have it. So they price it stupid. And then you have guys that want to move stuff. I picked up right after you left. You were kind of annoyed because you didn't see it. There was a guy set up right behind us, and he had just gotten don't want to call it vintage, but 70s to mid 80s, a whole big PSA return.
Baseball.
All baseball. Nothing insane, but I picked up a 78 Mike Schmidt PSA 8, and I picked up a PSA 7 Ricky Henderson rookie, and the card's really clean. Like, I was a little surprised it's a 7. It looks more like an 8 to me. may even be worth cracking and resubbing. But I picked those 2 cards up for $125, and I think comps are close to 200 on the pair, and I'll hold them till baseball season.
And that guy, if I'd have made a stack of 10 of those, I probably could have gotten a good deal on it.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting to just see some of the different personalities emerge. And now, if you're a newer collector in the state that I'm in and you're starting to do shows, now you have to think about inventory.
Yeah.
Oh, I moved a lot of that low-end stuff. The market did respond,
Yep.
And when I say $500, it's just a lot more than I was expecting based on what I put out. I wasn't putting big cards out. Not that I have a lot of big cards.
Well, that's the shift that's occurring at these shows right now that a lot of the dealers haven't adjusted to yet. When dealers come to my table and ask me how I did at the show, and I tell them, and they go, well, what were you selling out of? And I point to my 3-row boxes. Some of them are still shocked. Like, that's 80% of my sales at shows is $1, $2, and cards that are under $100 in my prices marked box. Yeah. So 80% of my sales, the vast majority of the hobby is gravitating to that. Yep. They're not buying the huge cards. There has been less and less of an interest in graded cards.
Yes.
Less and less.
Hear that again. Less interest in graded cards at the show. I think where that changes is big cards, right?
Yes.
Bigger, you go up in value, you'll see that more. But I think people kind of like the option of, well, maybe I could grade this. I think it makes it a little bit intriguing for some people when they're looking at cool raw stuff. What was moving like crazy for me was the 2000 to 2010 stuff.
And the game-used patch
and
stuff.
the game-used patches,
Even nobody big, $2 cards, $1 cards, people were grabbing them.
Yep. So it's been pretty interesting to see that. I wonder how that will evolve, and I'm having a little bit of a challenge. Like, all right, now I want to have about twice as many of the the smaller dollar stuff. How do I source this? It's going to have to be people who didn't buy it at the top and expecting top dollar from 2 years ago on this stuff, which there's still a lot of that.
It's people who ripped a lot of stuff and held on to it. That's where you're going to buy from for your inventory.
Yeah,
and being very clear about what you want to buy and what you're willing to pay for it.
All right, we got some ground to cover here.
We do.
We are now away from Preparation H, which makes me happy.
Okay.
Those of you listening,
I'll be happier when I get some. Very uncomfortable. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry. You guys didn't see the look that I just got.
I just didn't know you were over here leaking in the studio.
Full side eye.
All right. Up first, we're going to run through the NFL playoffs, have a quick take on who we think takes the game and why.
Okay, let's go.
Up first, a game that I would sure not play the money line on because I'm not super confident.
Okay.
Jags and Chargers. Against conventional wisdom, I'm going to go with the Jags because I think it's time.
I think the Jags win that game. I think that the Jags defense is playing really, really well. I think that if Mike Williams, who is questionable at this point, does not play in the game for San Diego, that they are going to be limited in the passing game. And I think that the offensive philosophy that San Diego has right now has handcuffs on Justin Herbert.
Yep. Let him go.
It just kind of is what it is. But Justin Herbert is not a dink and dunk quarterback.
Right.
He's a guy that if you want the most out of him, you got to have a vertical passing game. Let him do his thing. Mm-hmm. Let Austin Eckler be the safety valve. You don't need Keenan Allen running 7-yard hitches all day long.
Yep.
So I think the Jags win that game too, and I think it's a coming out party for Trevor Lawrence. If you guys haven't been paying attention, I think Trevor Lawrence is still a decent buy.
So, card show play. There's a few guys. Justin Jefferson's one.
Yep.
Justin Fields is still there. T-Law is still in a lot of stuff in these $1 and $2 boxes.
Yeah.
Like the smart play, there was a guy sent his dad out. His dad was in his 60s. Didn't know much about him, but his job was to go ask if we had any $1 Justin Jeffersons and he just bought all of them.
Yeah.
Every single one. Chronicles base didn't matter because if you have that stuff in bulk and you turn around and sell it for $2 a card in a 20-card lot, you're doubling up money all day long.
100%.
So, all right, up next, I think we're both going to agree on this one handedly. I just wonder to what degree. Cincy and Baltimore, I think Joe Burrow. Here's what I like about Cincinnati that I've seen the last 2 years. They really do seem to build momentum, and they seem to almost like time when they're making a push in the right way. you see other teams that are winning, but they're kind of burnt out. They're gassed out. They're on their last leg going into the playoffs. Cincinnati, 2 years in a row, has been heating up at the right time.
Joe Burrow is that guy. Okay? I think that the Bengals win by 10-plus points. Mm-hmm. Lamar Jackson's not playing. I think Lamar Jackson will never take another snap as a Baltimore Ravens quarterback.
Interesting.
I think that Baltimore burned that bridge.
Yeah, they hurt his feelings at this point.
Yeah. I think he's done there. I think that they'll try to franchise him. I think he will not sign the franchise tag offer, and he'll be stubborn. And I don't necessarily blame him. That's neither here nor there. Joe Burrow is that guy. I think we are watching the birth of this generation's Tom Brady.
Wow.
I'm not saying Joe Burrow's going to win 7 ships, but what I'm saying is he's going to be the guy for this generation. When you think about clutch pocket passers who are pure leaders, he's going to be the guy that you think of. That's not a slight to Patrick Mahomes. That's not a slight to Justin Herbert. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that Joe Burrow is that guy.
I'm him.
So,
that's what my son says. That's what all the kids are saying now. I'm him.
Yeah.
All right. We both agreed on that. Unfortunately, we're both going to agree on the next one. Buffalo and Miami.
Dog walk. I'm going to play the 21.5-point alternate spread.
You want to hear something?
What is it, plus 900 or so?
I already played that spread.
Yeah, it's going to be bad.
I don't know how Miami will score.
Skylar Thompson, you're rolling Skylar Thompson out.
We had 11 points against the Jets. So
right, and the Jets have a good defense, but it's not an amazing defense.
For all of the Miami Dolphin fan optimists, you suffer from memory loss.
So does Tua. Too soon?
That's always too soon. I think. Yeah, I think you might want that one back. You want to use your mulligan here?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I said what I said.
Yeah, the whole brain damage jokes aren't that funny to me. But Buffalo, Miami, I don't think there's a prayer for Miami. I would love there to be. The team that was winning games is no longer that team right now. And God wants Buffalo to win, I think.
The prayer for Miami is that Josh Allen's leg explodes on the first snap of the game, which I don't ever want to see.
Are you going for
no? What I'm saying is the only prayer that Miami has is for Josh Allen to be injured in some way and not play. Yeah. That's it. Otherwise, they get dog walked.
I still think that they would win.
I think they probably would too, but they would at least not
just morale. Miami.
Out.
You just see the defeat. There was a swagger and confidence midway through the season when they were winning some games, even if they weren't by much. Miami had a ton of very close games. They played the competition, but there's nobody to distribute the ball to that speed, and that's a problem.
No, you're rolling out a third-string, seventh-round rookie.
Yep. Good for him getting some experience. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I lose that bet.
I almost bought you a Skylar Thompson jersey this week.
That would have been cool.
I saw one on eBay for like $40, and I was like, I don't know whether that would be an insult or whether that would be cool or what.
Yeah, everyone can hear your tone through their speakers, earpods, whatever this is. Up next, Niners, Seahawks. I have Niners. I think the Niners run pretty deep this year. What about you?
I think that the Seahawks would have to play a perfect football game and hope that San Francisco makes some mistakes. Yeah. That defense is insane.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Although, mad props to Seattle for the season that they've had.
Oh, nobody saw that coming.
What they've done.
Between them and Jacksonville?
Geno, I just like a lot of what's happening up there especially on a season where nobody's expecting it and talking crap. The whole Russell Wilson narrative. Man,
you talk about a fall from grace.
He reminds me of the guy that everyone hated at church camp.
Well, I was actually gonna make a religion based metaphor there as well. He reminds me of like a mega church pastor who gets caught with his pants down.
Now, I'm going to say this. I'm just going to say it. You've just taken things wherever that line is today.
Stop. So listen, let me follow through on my thought process here, right? When he was in Seattle, right? The consensus is this guy's a Hall of Fame quarterback, right? That's the consensus. There wasn't anybody saying no chance. The consensus is he's one of the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks in the NFL, probably one of the 10 or 12 best quarterbacks of his generation, and he's a Hall of Famer. But toward the end of his time in Seattle, you started to hear rumblings from people who were no longer with the team, Richard Sherman, some of those other guys saying things like, guys, this dude's fake as fake gets. I'm telling you, he's not who you think he is. He's not who you think he is. Then he gets traded for what may be the second biggest trade rape scenario in the history of the NFL after Herschel Walker, you know, and goes to Denver and is awful. He's been awful all year long. Now, part of that was Nathaniel Hackett, who was so overmatched as an NFL, most overmatched first-time head coach since Freddie Kitchens. And when it is. And when Nathaniel Hackett got fired, Russell Wilson dramatically got better the last 3 games of the year, but still was bad.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like his teammates in Denver respect him all that much or like him all that much. The public's kind of turned on him and seen that he's kind of fake. And that's why I make that comparison.
It's like do you remember when everybody went nuts over Charlie Sheen and like the coked out like scene where he was making all these viral clips of winning and all that?
Yeah.
It's like that, only it's to the degree that everybody was in love with this manic behavior, they dislike Russell's manic behavior.
Yes. Speaking of Charlie Sheen, let me ask you a question.
Man, you are really edgy today.
If somebody said to you,
I'm scared to death.
No, if somebody said to you, you can have 25 years of amazingness. You can be rich. You can be famous. You can have any girl you want. You can do all the drugs you want, not ever get in trouble for it. But at the end of that 25 years, you get AIDS. Would you make that trade? You paused.
I'm not having this conversation.
You paused.
What is this?
Well, you said Charlie Sheen, and it made me think about that. I was thinking about that the other day. I said,
would
Charlie Sheen. Would you make that trade?
Yeah. Would you rather eat a light bulb or stick a toothpick under your big toenail and kick a soccer ball? Like, I'm not playing this game.
No, that wasn't the game. Because both of those things are terrible.
What you just did to me.
You're brave vapor walk because you thought about it.
No, I was like 25 or 37, 47, 57, 62.
Right. And then you get AIDS. You only got 15 years left anyway.
So we've gone after megachurch pastors.
And you're still famous, but you have AIDS.
AIDS victims. Tua's brain. Your own butt.
I'm having a hell of a day, aren't I?
Guys, he's wearing...
I feel fresh.
A 2X SpongeBob sweatshirt. And when I say SpongeBob, I mean it's like wallpaper.
It's amazing.
And it's a little undersized right now. So it's like...
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
So if you're still listening, God bless you.
Oh, this is high quality content right now.
Loyal fan. Next one we disagree on. Giants, Vikings. You think the Giants handle it well. I think Vikings, and my reason for that is your argument is that basically the Vikings will choke, and I don't think that's enough reason.
My argument is not that the Vikings will choke. My argument is that Kirk Cousins will choke.
But you're depending on that. So talent for talent, you say it's a close matchup, but the factor is that Kirk Cousins has struggled in the playoffs, is what you're saying.
Kirk Cousins struggles any time that he's the main focus of a TV audience. Doesn't mean the playoffs. Play him on Monday night. Play him on Sunday night. Play him as the game of the week on a Saturday at the end of the season, on a Saturday night. He chokes. Now, I think Kirk Cousins is a functional NFL quarterback, but he can't win big games. And here's what I'm basing my Vikings-Giants thought process on. One, the Giants have been better than people think they are. Daniel Jones has been a drastically better quarterback this year. You remember at the beginning of the season, we talked about somebody buying his NT 1-of-1 shield for like 50 grand. That dude's quadrupled his money.
Yeah.
Quadrupled his money. Last weekend, the Giants, with nothing to play for and as 16.5-point underdogs, rolled out their third string quarterback and played to within a touchdown of one of the best teams in the division.
Yeah.
And one of the best teams in the NFC. They didn't play Saquon. They didn't play Daniel Jones. They didn't even play Tyrod Taylor because they were like, if Daniel Jones gets hurt, we don't want Tyrod Taylor hurt. We don't want to play Davis Webb in the playoffs. And they still after being down 3 scores, came back to within 8 points in that game.
Yeah.
So I think the Giants win that game. I don't think it's a super close game. It might be a 1-score game, but it's going to be a 6 or 7 point game, and I think the Giants win.
I don't think they win. I think that they're a little bit outmatched by the Vikings. I would agree with the storyline of the Giants. The
only place they're
expectations,
outmatched is at receiver.
but it's a big receiver. You're looking at one of the most elite receivers in the game, looking for that opportunity. We've already seen what he's capable of. I don't disagree with what you're saying about Cousins being
It doesn't matter how
hot
good a
or cold.
receiver is if the quarterback isn't, one, getting him the ball, and two, do you not think that the Giants are going to roll coverage to Jefferson all day and say, hey, if the 75% that's left of Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne can beat us, congratulations?
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I just don't think that's it sounds to me like you think that one's a little bit more of a gimme than I do. I think it's a close one, but I think the Vikings pull away with it.
I think the Vikings O-line is going to be outmatched. I think the Giants are going to blitz Kirk Cousins to death.
Well, we will see what happens. That's the first one we completely disagree with.
And
each other.
Dalvin Cook's a little dinged up.
I don't know what we think about this next one. I'm not that interested in it, really. Cowboys and Bucks. Two teams I don't really care that much about.
I think we're going to see Tom Brady be Tom Brady, and I think we're going to see Dak Prescott be Dak Prescott.
That sounds like the Bucks are going to win.
I think that's probably the likely outcome.
Yep. Boys fans, you all right?
No, they're not okay. I mean, they should be okay because I don't know why they expect anything different.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's go after the Cowboys fans because
we them boys
feel like that dynasty in the 90s was last year.
Well, they think that. The rest of us aren't delusional.
Well, the rest of us are just like, no, you guys are more talented than your performance consistently and find a way to fizzle out every time.
Well, yes, and this year it's been really interesting to watch Dak Prescott just regress.
Why, Jerry? Why?
Not just regress, but it'd be one thing if he was making throws and trying to put balls into tight windows, but he's not throwing with any anticipation. He is not throwing to the right spots. It's like he doesn't even know what he's seeing. If it's not CeeDee Lamb on a hitch or a quick crosser, who knows? And the Cowboys still, for some reason, seem to think Zeke Elliott is an elite running back. He is not. You should be giving Tony Pollard the ball 25 times a game and Zeke about 7. But I guess because they're paying Zeke,
them boys are the good old boys is what's happening. It feels like.
And Micah Parsons is kind of fallen off the second half of the season too.
How much of this is just the owner has his hands in more stuff than most?
Oh, 85 to 90% of it. If they actually brought in a football brain as a GM.
I like that guy. I feel like that's what happens.
Yeah.
You know, I see what you're saying about Pollard, but you know what? I like Zeke.
Here's all you need to know about Jerry Jones as a GM. It literally took
25 years ago.
Well, it literally took his son.
You didn't get that.
No.
The reference said for 25 years.
Oh. Here's the thing about Jerry Jones as a GM. This is sums Jerry Jones up completely. A lot of what you just said. I like that guy. It took an almost mutiny from his entire football front office staff for the Cowboys not to draft Johnny Manziel and to draft Zach Martin instead. Zach Martin is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Johnny Manziel's claim to fame is he makes autographed football cards for Leaf that have the F word on them now.
Bet.
That's all you need to know about Jerry Jones as a GM.
That wraps up our NFL talk. I mean, we're at 35 minutes. You want to run to the next segment?
Yeah, 30.
All right.
What is this half-hour episode crap?
Well, it was just a goal we set years ago, but who cares? Let's
More
jump
content, better
into
content.
Baseball, baby.
Now
it's
we're talking.
almost baseball season, and here's what I like. Here's
what
what I'm seeing card show wise in the market. We talked about it a little bit last week, just because of availability, dropping products on time, but. Man, baseball kind of seems to be king right now.
People are asking for it.
Going into the playoffs, going into the NFL playoffs, did you just fart?
No, I cleared my throat. I turned my head away from the mic.
Cleared your throat?
Cleared my throat. If that
Guarantee
sounded like a fart,
that caused you to
wrong
leak.
with your butt?
Well, you started it. Something is wrong. We're going to go through the 2023 ballot
MLB
for
Hall
the
of Fame.
Hall of Fame. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give a gut reaction to what I think about a player. Gary's going to list a lot of statistics. He loves this. There's nothing wrong with it. It's one of the things I love about him is he is a baseball statistics nerd.
Correct.
There will be times he asks me why, and my answer is, I like that guy.
Okay, Jerry.
I want to sound like Jerry Jones.
And before we get into this, I just want to say something that I need to just get it off my chest.
That shirt?
No. The Baseball Writers Association America is the biggest joke in the history of jokes. If you are on the Baseball Writers Association of America voting panel and you have a vote for the Hall of Fame, and you are like 80% of these 75-year-old morons, you should just turn in your badge. It has become an absolute travesty what these guys do.
Give me an example.
The fact that we do not have Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame, the fact that we do not have Alex Rodriguez or Manny Ramirez in the Hall of Fame, yet we have guys who took meth every single day that they played because it was on the table in the clubhouse for them, and nobody holds that against those guys, is a joke. The fact that those guys aren't in and Bud Selig and several owners from that time are in, they all knew exactly what was going on and were 100% okay with it because it was making them money. And these guys aren't. Barry Bonds is the greatest hitter in the history of baseball. And there's no argument for that. He was a top 5 hitter in the history of the game of baseball before he ever took a steroid. There's no arguing that. If you try to argue that, you don't know baseball. It's that simple. So I have no respect for the Baseball Writers Association. I saw a ballot that got turned in for 2023 already, and we're going to go through this list. And this jackass literally just checked off Jimmy Rollins and left everything else blank. It's a joke. If you're making that vote,
here's the thing.
You're an idiot, and you should have your credentials taken away.
I could be wrong, and they could be former players, but my hunch is this panel is made up
writers
of people who were really good at handing me a towel or a Gatorade or making sure
100%.
that my warm-ups were put properly on the seat.
Yeah, that got put into lockers.
Yeah. Hey.
They're kids who went to journalism school at
yeah,
Northwestern.
Yeah, I swept out the dugout so that all the mud's not stuck there for the away team.
Yeah.
So, but somehow they're involved in this decision.
Yeah, it's asinine.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, go ahead.
So we're going to run through the list. A simple yes or no will suffice. As you are aware, we will get a lot more than that. I'll just go through the ranking. Up first, Scott Rowland. Hands down, yes for me.
Should have been in already.
Scott Rowland is from the area of Indiana I grew up in. He played for Jasper. I got to meet him his second year. Phillies uniform. Eddie Tommonsy hit a walk-off home run in the 9th.
Nice.
Todd Helton, yes. No-brainer for me.
Agreed. I think what gets Todd Helton is the Rockies effect, the Colorado effect. But I agree. He should be in. He should have been in already.
Billy Wagner, don't care.
I'm not a big fan of specialists in the Hall.
Yeah.
That's my issue. I would be a no on Billy Wagner.
This next one's interesting. Andrew Jones. So we both kind of felt the same way. We paused there like...
if you had asked me...
How can I miss you if you'll never leave, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if you had asked me if Andrew Jones is a Hall of Famer at the end of his first 9 years in the league, I wouldn't even have batted an eye. I would have said absolutely the best defensive center fielder of his generation, massive power, massive speed. But he's a guy who played too long, and it tanked his career averages. I think just from the eyeball test, he's a Hall of Famer.
Most people can see, hey, towards the end of their career, blah, blah, blah. But these are writers.
Yeah, and if you just keep going, it just gets worse. And when you start getting guys who are voting who didn't really watch you play, it's hard to realize this, but Andrew Jones has been retired for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm old.
Up next, Gary Sheffield, yes for me.
I agree. It's a travesty he's not already in.
A-Rod, yes, but
yes.
we know.
Yes.
What will happen?
1,000,000% yes.
Yeah. Jeff Kent.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the best second of his generation.
Manny Ramirez.
Yes.
Yep. Omar Vizquez.
All glove.
No, for
Just
me.
no hit tool at all.
Andy Pettit. I was surprised to actually look at statistics because my initial reaction was yes, but I think a lot of that was just how dominant his team was through that period.
Correct.
Very consistently good. I won't be surprised to see him in the Hall, but I had to pause a little bit after talking with you.
Just from a WAR standpoint, it's probably a yes. However, here's one of the things about baseball that gets tricky. Pettit pitched for a really long time, and he was an above-average pitcher for a really long time. But at any point in his career, and we both watched the vast majority of his career, did you think to yourself, man, every year this guy's a Cy Young threat?
Right.
He was a number 3 starter, like occasionally a 2. Really good player.
Ice in his veins. He didn't get shaken
really
up.
good player. But if all you're looking at is WAR, yes. But I mean, he's almost a 4.0 ERA for his career, 3.85 ERA for his career.
That's good.
It's borderline. And if I pause on somebody, for me, it's usually a no.
All right. Jimmy Rollins.
No.
Nah. Bobby Abreu.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
When I took a deeper dive on his stats. You said yes right off the bat. I hesitated, but then I looked at his stats and I'm like, maybe. I mean, he's not going to get in this year, but maybe at some point.
Yep. Oh, I'll let you take the next one because you're excited.
Mark Burley is a Hall of Famer. Name me 5 better pitchers that have ever played for the White Sox.
I love when you start with name me 5.
Yeah.
Most people say name me 1, name me 2, name me 3.
I don't think you. I think you can maybe name 1 or 2. That's it. That's all you can do. Mark Burley has a no-hitter. Mark Burley has a perfect game. Mark Burley has a World Series championship. Mark Burley has almost 60 WAR. Mark Burley's career ERA is under 3.5. I think he's a Hall of Fame. No, it's not under 3.5. It's 3.8. 200 wins, a lot of strikeouts, played for a lot of bad teams.
Yep.
Look at his wins over the course. He never had a year with less than 12 wins other than his rookie year where he only started 28 games. And even then he was 4-1.
Yeah.
I mean, he never had a 20-win season, but man, he never had a bad year.
Keep it moving.
Yep, keep it moving.
Torrey Hunter, you said no.
No.
I won't be surprised if it happens just because do you remember the narrative about the brothers that saved baseball? So was it coming off of the strike going into before the 98 season? I don't remember all of it, but I know that he was significant to baseball at that time.
I don't disagree, but he's a 50 WAR player. That makes him a very good player.
Do I think he's in there? No. Do I think writers are going to be real excited about him?
He got 5% of the vote
Yep.
in his 3rd year on the ballot.
Yep.
I just don't see it.
Carlos Beltran.
He's not going to get in, but he's not going to not get in because of who he was as a player. If you just look at his playing career, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yep. No question.
And no question. It should be first ballot Hall of Famer. He's not going to get in, at least for a while, because of things that happened when he was a manager. The Astros stuff is going to hurt him. The Red Sox stuff is going to hurt him.
John Lackey.
Weird one. Just watching the man pitch, especially in the postseason, I would say yes. But he just doesn't have the stats.
I agree.
But, man, he was one of the best postseason pitchers ever.
Jared Weaver.
No. You were like, yeah. I was like, why?
I like that guy. Jerry, I like that guy. Jacob Ellsbury.
Jacoby?
Yeah, that one.
No.
Matt Cain.
No, I don't even know why he's on the ballot.
Johnny Peralta. A lot of the first ballots I'm not super excited about here.
Well, so Matt Cain, Johnny Peralta, both knows. The next guy is another guy who's also a no, but he and Jacoby Ellsbury are a really good conversation to have about why with baseball and investing in baseball cards, it's really important to hedge yourself. Both of those guys, if you look at their first 3 or 4 years in the league, you're like, man, these guys are on a path. And if you went heavy on them after those first 3 or 4 years in the league, they just fell off a cliff. Baseball's a weird game. And it's crazy what'll happen. A guy will be really good for 3 or 4 years and something flips in their brain and all of a sudden they go from being a 280, 30, 25 bags, 800 OPS guy to 210 and 10 home runs and a bad player.
Yeah.
So those two guys are really good examples of guys who early in their first 3 or 4 years in your career, like people looked at those guys, maybe not quite the way we look at like Acuna and Soto, but they were talked about the same way Machado was talked about at that point.
Yeah.
They might have been a little ahead of Machado at that point. And now.
What do we got? J.J. Hardy next?
No. Some of
Mike-
these names, you're just like, why are they even on the ballot?
Yeah. Mike
Napoli?
Yeah. No.
No.
Up next is a no, but it was cool to see him on there. Bronson Arroyo. I got to watch him. Now, I will say this. He had an old school delivery where the leg was a lot more straight. And I don't know how, but he had some filthy. It was a little bit more of a 3/4 delivery, but it was like a 12-6 curve the way it would drop off. But you knew what you were getting. I was never pumped that he was starting.
No.
But I would watch him do some pretty cool stuff with the ball. The movement he could generate. He did seem to be more of a specialist. He's a guy that he kind of had a plan of attack for really good hitters, and most of the time he executed it well. The issue was over the long haul, the team he was playing for with the Reds was not good. He did not have much offensive help. That hurts him a little bit, but he played quite a while.
And he was a guy. So there are some pitchers when their secondary pitches are off, they can go back to their bread and butter and get guys out. If Bronson Arroyo was off, teams were hitting 5 dingers.
Yeah, because it was just hanging off speed stuff.
He didn't have anything else to go back to.
Well, and I'd say this. On top of that, he was in a ballpark designed for home runs.
Oh, for sure.
When they finished Great American, if that's still the name of it. Fun fact about Bronson Arroyo, he really also wanted to be a rock star. You could parallel.
That's weird.
You could parallel his talent for music and how close he is to the Hall of Fame to how close he was to having a career in music. He can sing. It's not. You know what?
It's okay.
Yeah, man. It's the guy. Hey, you guys want me to play you a song? And you're like, I mean, we're. Sure. Up next, Francisco.
No,
Rodriguez.
you skipped.
R.A. Dickey.
R.A. Dickey is not
Writers
a Hall of
are
Famer.
going to give him votes.
He will get some votes. I will say this: there's not been, other than Tim Wakefield, and Tim Wakefield went from being a position player to a pitcher.
The knuckleball.
There has not been a pitcher who reinvented his career more than R.A. Dickey.
Yep.
This dude went from being a borderline quadruple A player to learning a knuckleball and being dominant for about 3 years. Won a Cy Young, got huge money to go to Toronto, and was still a good pitcher for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
No, he's not a Hall of Famer, but boy, he's a hell of a story.
Francisco Rodriguez.
What?
Francisco Rodriguez.
That's my response to what? Why is this person on the ballot?
Same. Andre Ethier.
Yeah, no.
Hudson Street.
Houston Street?
Yeah, exactly.
Houston Street was a really good closer for 10 minutes, but I'm not a big fan of closers in the Hall.
So basically, we're telling you, give us some better options, people.
Well, you got to remember, 5 years out of the game before you're eligible, and we had a little window there in Major League Baseball where there were some pretty bad players all across the board. So it's going to be slim pickings a little bit for the next few years.
Yeah.
But that's the Hall of Fame ballot this year.
Next week, we're going to be talking a little bit about how you can capitalize on the NFL season finishing up. We'll be talking about some players that may be worth investing in that didn't make the playoffs or got bumped out in the first round, and where you can make a little money. Maybe we try that little game again, and maybe I don't get killed this time.
Well, you can give it a shot, and I'll give you guys an update on how the Preparation H works out for me.
Please don't.
See how that goes.
Please don't.
I'm kind of excited.
Quick reminder, follow us on Facebook. If you haven't left a review for the show, we'd love that. It really helps us get the word out. It bumps us up in the algorithms, whoever is running that.
Yeah, we would like to maybe compete to be in the top 10 of sports card podcasts. That would be great.
I'll just settle for being relevant in the hobby.
I think we're already there.
All right, sweet.
Yeah.
This has been the Ball Car Show, the sports podcast.
For the Esports Collector.
See ya.
Peace.